Far beyond the pale blue world called Earth, an alien fleet drifted through the dark between stars. Its commanders confident and curious because their long-range probes had reported a quiet planet rich with oceans, forests, cities, and lights, yet strangely lacking the great energy shields, orbital lances, or battle stations that marked the defensive systems of most advanced civilizations. And so the Fleet Council gathered within the silent chamber of their flagship while the planet slowly grew larger in the forward view. Each officer studying the rotating sphere and wondering why a world so vibrant would appear so vulnerable while their scanners read only small satellites scattered in orbit and faint signals of communication moving between continents. And the eldest commander, named Ryal, spoke calmly to the others, explaining that many young species never survived long enough to build strong defenses, and that this planet was likely one more example of a hopeful civilization waiting unknowingly for the moment when a stronger power arrived to claim it. Yet another officer named Terra studied the data longer than the others because something about the planet felt wrong to him. There were thousands of satellites rather than a few large stations, and many of them appeared silent but still active. And deep within the night side of the planet, their sensors detected brief pulses of energy that vanished almost instantly, as if someone were testing powerful machines and hiding them again. But the Council dismissed his concern, since their fleet had conquered armored empires and shattered fortified moons, and there was no reason to fear a world that showed no open weapons. And so the alien ships advanced closer to the planet with confident precision while Earth continued to rotate peacefully beneath them as clouds drifted across oceans and sunlight glimmered along the curved horizon. And on the surface of that world, the people of Earth had already noticed the fleet because long before the first alien ship crossed the orbit of their moon, countless radar stations, telescopes, and silent listening arrays had tracked the approach of strange vessels moving with impossible speed through the outer solar system. And the governments of Earth had argued at first about what the fleet might want, while scientists debated whether contact would bring wonder or disaster. Yet hidden beneath mountains, deserts, forests, and even beneath the sea, there existed a network of defenses built slowly over many decades by cautious planners who believed that one day the universe would test humanity. And these defenses were not proud, shining fortresses visible from space, but quiet, buried systems by secure lines of command waiting patiently for the moment when a hostile force revealed itself. And so when the alien fleet entered high orbit and their commanders prepared a message demanding surrender, the leaders of Earth had already made their decision because history had taught them that survival sometimes required strength before diplomacy. And across the planet, doors opened deep underground, where enormous machines woke from long sleep while technicians confirmed targeting solutions and commanders issued final orders through hardened communication lines that could survive the worst storm of war. And far above them, the alien fleet continued its calm formation as the flagship broadcast a powerful signal toward the planet, expecting confusion, fear, and quick obedience. But the response from Earth was silence, which puzzled the alien commanders because they believed that any civilization facing extinction would answer quickly. And while they waited, their sensors began to register a sudden surge of activity from the thousands of satellites they had earlier ignored as unimportant relics of primitive technology. Each silent object now shifting its orbit slightly, while panels unfolded and hidden, antennae rose like metal flowers awakening in sunlight. And the officer Tarek felt a deep unease as he watched the network come alive because he realized that the scattered satellites were not random at all, but carefully arranged, nodes forming a vast planetary grid. And before he could finish warning the Council, the first signal from Earth reached the fleet not as words but as a command traveling through encrypted channels to every defensive system humanity had built. And in the cold vacuum above the planet, dozens of long dormant platforms opened armored shells revealing immense rail cannons that had waited quietly among the satellites, while beneath the ocean's massive submarine launch systems rose toward the surface. And deep inside mountains, missile silos unlocked with heavy thunder. And the alien fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by a sphere of silent weapons that had been invisible moments before, and the flagship commander, Ral, attempted to raise shields and order a retreat, but the distance was already too close, because the defense grid of Earth had been designed for exactly this moment. When an enemy believed the planet weak and moved within range, and the first guns of Terra fired with a flash that turned darkness into blinding light as electromagnetic. Cannons hurled dense projectiles faster than any traditional missile, each strike guided by a network of satellites that calculated trajectories with relentless accuracy. And the alien ships, which had expected surrender, instead faced a storm of metal moving at such velocity that shields struggled to absorb the impact. One cruiser shattered instantly as a projectile pierced its reactor core, while another lost half its hull to a chain of explosions triggered by secondary strikes, and panic rippled through the fleet as commanders realized that the primitive world below them had hidden a defense system vast enough to challenge an empire, and more weapons joined the battle as long-range missiles erupted from the dark side of the planet, climbing through the atmosphere, before igniting engines that pushed them into orbit, where they split into clusters of guided warheads. In every moment, the defensive network grew stronger because the satellites shared targeting data instantly, allowing each cannon, missile, and interceptor to work as part of a single, coordinated mine directed by human operators deep beneath the surface. And on Earth, those operators watched comm screens while issuing steady commands, because they had trained for years to protect their world. They were not heroes seeking glory, but guardians, ensuring that the sky above their homes remained free. And above them, the alien fleet struggled to recover formation as damaged ships tried to break away from the deadly sphere, yet every escape route was predicted by the network and met by another wave of fire. And even as the aliens attempted to jam communications, they discovered that the Terran grid used layered channels, optical links, and quantum-encrypted relays, making disruption almost impossible. And soon, the once proud invasion force began to fragment with burning debris scattering across orbit like a new ring around the planet. And the commander, Ral, finally understood the truth too late, that the humans had chosen concealment rather than display, patience rather than pride, and that the quiet satellites they had ignored were in fact the eyes and guns of an entire civilization determined never again to face extinction without a fight. And as the last intact alien ships attempted a desperate jump away from Earth, they transmitted a warning to the distant empire that had sent them. A warning describing a blue world that appeared defenseless, yet hid a storm of weapons and a species that watched the stars with cautious determination. And far below the battle, humanity continued to coordinate its defenses, ensuring that no hostile vessel remained within range. And when the final alien ship vanished into the dark, the guns of Terra slowly fell silent, while the satellites returned to their quiet, drifting patterns, once more appearing harmless to any distant observer. And across the planet, people stepped outside to look at the night sky, where faint streaks of burning debris marked the end of the first battle fought in defense of Earth. And though many understood that the universe had now noticed them, humanity also knew that the lesson had been delivered clearly to any who might listen. That the small blue planet called Terra was not a helpless world waiting for conquest, but a watchful home, protected by minds that had prepared for the unknown. And somewhere beyond the stars, survivors of the defeated fleet would carry the memory of that day, telling others about the silent planet whose weapons woke only when danger arrived, the planet whose people built their strength quietly while appearing weak, the planet whose guns turned the darkness of space into a shield around their fragile oceans and forests and cities. And from that moment forward, travelers among the stars would remember a simple truth about the world called Earth, that beneath its calm clouds and peaceful signals waited the hidden power of humanity, ready to rise whenever the sky above their home filled with enemies.